Hello booktube, hello book friends, welcome back to my channel. This is my reading week update for the week ending the 15th of March 2025, and it's been a bit of a week. I've got a bit of a book haul to talk to you about. Finished a couple of books, and also want to talk about the channel generally and tags and things like that. So let's start with the book haul. Now, I've had my birthday in the last week, and I was very fortunate to be given some really lovely books. I've also bought a couple of books as well. I'll talk about those separately. But I have received 3 books by Alan Garner. Now, if you don't know who Alan Garner is, he is I think he's in his 90s now, still alive, still writing as far as I know, because I think this particular book was published last year in 2024. So he's still writing, or at least still working. He is probably best known for a couple of children's books, one called The Owl Service and one called Elidor. But he kind of he writes all sorts of things, but he's kind of, I suppose, a children's fantasy author is probably what he's best known for. But he writes adult fiction as well. And as I say, I got 3 books. I've got Thursbitch, which is an adult. It's not. It's not It's not really fantasy. It's kind of. It's a kind of crossover between Old English folklore and things that are happening in the same place in the modern day. So what was it, 1755 and kind of now, and 1755 centres around Jack Turner, who was a packman, which is basically a trader who basically has a sort of like a train of horses and will travel from place to place with goods and sell things and buy things and then sell them, in the next village, sort of thing. So it's between him and a couple who are kind of in the modern day, who are in the same place and seeing the same things and having kind of similar experiences, but within their personal kind of situation circumstances. It was a really good read. It's not a very big. I've already read it. It's only 158 pages, and it's sort of set on the moors. So Thursbitch is a place on the moors to the kind of southeast of Manchester in the UK. So yeah, really enjoyed that. And then one that I haven't had a chance to read yet, which is basically his sort of memoir of his childhood, school days, and so on, which I need to get to, but haven't yet. And then this is the most recent, Powsels and Thrums, which is a kind of collection of various bits of sort of previously unpublished and some published writings and stories. Powsels and Thrums are a link back to his father and grandfather, who are both bench weavers, and Powsels and Thrums are the little scraps of material that result from that process, which aren't used for anything else. So yeah, so that, and I'm probably about halfway through. I'm just picking up because because it is sort of relatively short stories and snippets, I'm sort of reading, 2 or 3 now and again. Not, I kind of want to make it last, if that makes sense. So yeah, those are my birthday books, and then I also bought a couple, one new, one second hand, Times Echo, which is about the impact of the Second World War on composers and music, and vice versa. I've basically only read the prelude. I haven't got very far with it, and it focuses on Shostakovich, Britten, Schoenberg, and Richard Strauss, and how they were transformed by the Second World War and the Holocaust, and kind of how that influenced their compositions and music and so on. So really looking forward to reading that. It does sound like a really good book, but I haven't, as I say, got very far with it. And then a second-hand book, which was as a result of somebody talking about this on BookTube, who I cannot remember who it was. So if this was you and you're watching, thank you very much. But I'm sorry, I've forgotten who you were. But it was Path to Peace, Walking the Western Front Way by Anthony Seldon. I've read a few of Anthony Seldon's books because he writes sort of political biographies. So I've read a few of his political biographies. But this is basically his story of walking basically 1,000-kilometer journey along what was the sort of Western Front in the First World War, and what he found along the way. And I think I haven't had a chance to really look at it at all. It only arrived yesterday, so I'm looking forward to reading it because it kind of feels like it's right up my street. Possibly fits with my personal project around war correspondence, artists, writers, and so on. As I think this does from a perspective of music, which I've never really thought about before. So I'll be interested to see whether that's another thing that I need to kind of add. It's an ever-growing project, and just sort of taking me in all sorts of directions. I really want to sit down and do a proper video about that project and some of the things that I've learned, and some of the writers and artists and poets and composers and so on. So maybe I need to kind of read those 2 books, and or at least the music one, and see where we get to. So yeah, those are that's my mini book haul. So it's 5 books, which I think for me is quite restrained. And what have I been reading? I finished a couple of books, and I've got one on the go. The book that I've finished fairly recently is Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien, which is the first book in the Jack Aubrey and Stephen Maturin historical fiction series, also famously made into a Russell Crowe movie of the same name, although the stories diverge quite a bit. And I've been reading that for Mark at Book Time with Elvis's Patreon book club. So that was a book, kind of an online book club read. I enjoyed it. I was hoping I would perhaps enjoy it a bit more than I did. It wasn't. It was fine. And there's 20 something books, can't remember, in the series. So, and I've got a few more of them on my Kindle. So I probably will continue to read, certainly the ones I've got, and we'll see where that goes. Whether it's kind of going to end up me buying all of the books or reading all of the books in the series. I don't know, but yeah, I enjoyed that. It was, a kind of naval adventure with, big ships and cannons and lots of sails and names of bits of rigging that I will never retain, but doesn't really matter because it's not central to the story. So yeah, that was a fun read. And then I also finished a book that I started. Had I started it last week? Or had I just said I was possibly going to read it? I can't remember. I know I talked about it last week, which was Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I have read it in the intervening week, and what can I say? I mean, if you've read it, you know. I just thought it was. I mean, there's a couple of things. A, it was a fantastic read. I really enjoyed it. And then if you've never read it, but you kind of, have watched vampire movies and things like that, you kind of think, oh, so that's where that comes from. It's like about different bits of sort of vampire lore, if you like. And you think, if you've watched, even some of the more schlocky movies like Blade and things like that, and you think, oh well, that's where that comes. That's where that comes from. So it's not even this sort of the more what is it, Christopher Lee type vampire movies, but some of them, the more, like I say, modern, flashy, action, what are effectively action movies with vampires in, those sorts of things. So yeah, this was. Oh, what can I say? I'm going to have to reread it again because I'm sure there are things in it that I missed. Partly because I found it actually quite physically difficult to read because the text is quite small and quite. I don't know how easily whether that shows up or not, but it's quite small typeface and it's quite narrowly spaced. That's what I'm trying to say, and that it was actually quite difficult to read. But yeah, so I was reading it quite slowly, which I guess is a good thing. But I'm sure there's stuff that I've missed, particularly when things were really getting going. So the first kind of 50 or 100 pages is, I think, it's some of the best writing in the book, but it's all from the perspective of one character's journal, and then it kind of breaks up, and it's all written, or if you don't know, it's all written from as journal entries, letters, snippets from newspaper articles, things like that. So it's not told as somebody might tell a story. It's told from the perspective of the characters. Does that make sense? I don't know whether I'm just confusing you now. But yeah, brilliant. Loved it. Will read again, definitely. And what am I reading at the moment? Just having a light mystery novel. Another Louise Penny, Three Pines mystery, The Cruelest Month. Haven't got very far with this. In fact, I think the crime itself has only just happened, and I'm about 100 pages in, I think. I have a nasty feeling I've worked out who did it and why, but not necessarily how they did it, if that makes sense. So I've got the I think I know who the murderer is. I think I know what their motive for murdering the victim is. I'm just not sure of the other bits. Was it motive, method, and opportunity? So I kind of know the method because we've had that. in the kind of forensics, but I don't know how the method was applied, if that makes sense. And then I don't know. Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity bit is like, well, if that was the method of murder, when did they do it? You know, and how did they do it? Because it's not a straightforward like a shooting or something really blatantly obvious. So yeah, I'll be interested to see. I think I'm probably wrong. If I think I've got it that early, I think I'm probably wrong, but we'll see. So yeah, in other kind of channel news, you've probably noticed the last couple of weeks a lot more videos on the channel, basically because I've had a lot more time to make them. So I've been doing like almost sort of three kind of, I've done Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and this one on a kind of Saturday, and sometimes even a sort of fifth video. I can't keep that up. I've had, as I say, because I've had a birthday, I've had some free time, and I've taken some time off work and things like that. I don't know how I'm going to balance it going forward, because I seem to have gone from sort of not getting tagged in for tag videos very often to getting tagged quite a bit, and they're stacking up. And if you watch them, you'll probably see that, particularly the tag videos where there's one on a Tuesday, one on a Wednesday, and one on a Thursday, or however it's fallen, that my clothes haven't changed. That's because I've been batch recording them, literally doing back-to-back kind of tag videos, batch recording them almost. I can't keep that up. There are videos that I want to make light about my war correspondence project and things like that I haven't been able to make because I've been trying to. I don't know what the answer is. Only that when work becomes, when I go back to work, basically, I'm not going to have the time. So I will be making less videos, and I think I might have to really concentrate on the tags that really resonate, or other videos that I want to make in addition to that. I mean, I want to keep this one and one other a week as a minimum. So 2 videos a week as a minimum, maybe 3. I don't know. I don't know. I said it twice now. So that, yeah, just if you are getting used to seeing me pop up on your feed multiple times a week, it isn't going to be happening as much going forward, I think is what I'm saying. I think next week there are 2 tag videos recorded already, so they'll probably go out Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I might have time to record something else for Thursday, and then obviously I'll do my weekly wrap up on a Saturday, all being well. The following week will kind of be when that will be. So there'll be another week of kind of lots of content, and then probably a week where normal service has been resumed. Yeah, we'll see. So just a heads up, I haven't worked it out in my head how it's going to work, and what I can realistically do. But I don't, I'm sure it doesn't matter really in the grand scheme of things, and people will probably not actually notice much difference because there are loads of booktubers out there all recording videos, and just means you'll watch a video from somebody else and not from me, which is great. But yeah, I thought it was worth just explaining it in case anybody wonders what the hell's happened. So that's it from me. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far, and I will speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.